Hope Street.
Okay, so what's your name? And could you explain me a little bit about yourself?
My name is Shaposhnik. I'm an artist, technologist, creator, and I happen to be the founder and CEO of Orbs at the moment. We're building really exciting space robotics.
Okay. Where are we now?
We are in Arcadia. Oh, look at that butterfly!
Oh,
Wow!
yeah, look at this. That's beautiful.
Wow! We're in our
Yeah.
wow!
Okay, let's see.
Oh, let's see it. Oh,
I
oh,
don't know if I can.
Wait, that's so cool. Ah. We're in beautiful Arcadia, California.
So, okay, Anna. So could you explain me a little bit about your background, where you're from, what's, story of your life?
Sure. I grew up in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, home of a lot of tech companies, but when I was growing up, that's not really what I was thinking about. I mostly just thought about the local community, my high school. I originally went to like a private school for like K through 12, and then I transferred in the middle of middle school to the public school, Miller Middle School, Lynbrook High School. And in Lynbrook High School, I fell in love with my high school robotics team. And that really set off the rest of my life, I think, because I gained a lot of the just like confidence in myself and the understanding of what I wanted to do in life through that program. There's another butterfly. Wow.
It is hard to catch the
It's
butterfly.
beautiful. Yeah, I love butterflies.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Aw,
So peaceful.
yep.
Well, go on. Sorry, you were saying.
Yeah.
So you had this program,
Mm-hmm.
and so could you explain me what was your parents' job,
Mhm.
or how was your child condition from your family?
Sure. I'm an only child. I think that shaped a lot of my early childhood because I would always play in my room. I'd make stories with my toys. I really enjoyed creativity and just drawing comics, coming up with interesting scenarios. My mom and dad were amazing. I think I grew up in such a loving household. My dad is a he's like a computer scientist, software engineer. He is also an entrepreneur. So throughout my life, he would be working on different companies, like Sun Microsystems, Yahoo, Zadida, Cloudera, all Internet of Things style companies. And now he's also a founder of a company called Neko AI, building AI chips to make computing open source and more accessible. So I'm really proud of him. And I think early on, just knowing that he was working on those things probably inspired me to dream bigger, because he was also always a leader at different things. But I wouldn't say he would directly teach me about that. Sometimes I would just hear stories at the dinner table. He's talking about things. But my mom was also, they met in college. They were both math majors, math and computer science majors in St. Petersburg, Russia. And so they came over to the US searching for the American dream as well, starting a company, making a life here. So the immigrant mindset was definitely there, just understanding how hard they worked to get to America.
Did you hear a lot of story from your parents that how difficult was it to move here?
Occasionally. I don't think that was forced on me.
Right.
They would just tell me this is what it took. to get here. But I think otherwise, like, they were really proud that they were able to get a better life for me, so they didn't want to like weigh me down with those. They mostly just wanted to show me like how much opportunity I have. And my mom was very proactive in my education. I was very fortunate to have access to a lot of different like after-school activities. She would always be thinking of like, oh, okay, like, you want to take a dance class, like, or I ended up enrolling in learning Chinese as my third language. So definitely very grateful to my parents for those opportunities.
You learned Chinese as well. What was your first language? Was it Russian or English?
It was like a mix of Russian and English, mostly Russian. Actually, my mom tells me the story. I don't remember this, but like I failed my kindergarten English test because they spoke too much Russian to me. So she ended up like going the other way and teaching me more and like speaking more English at home. Yep. We're going to be careful here.
Okay. That's a beautiful mountain near the.
They have a stop, so they have to stop for us. Yeah.
So we are walking very close to your office, right?
Yep.
So how did you find the office in this area? What is this area about?
Yeah, so Arcadia is in North Los Angeles. That means we're next to Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which is the historic site of a lot of space robotics and development. Like, of course, Mars rover, Mars helicopter, Curiosity, Perseverance. So I think like it's a historic area to be close to the talent at Caltech, which is a famous university. And otherwise, it's like just a very friendly neighborhood. I wanted to look for a place that was beautiful, safe, relatively close to talent in the area. And also really important for me was like an air conditioner, like AC in the warehouse that we were choosing. So I made sure to look for a warehouse like that. And we were very fortunate to sublease from someone who already owned it, so we got a much cheaper price. And that was a huge factor as well.
Right. How long do you have this company and offices?
Company I founded in 2024, July. Since then, been like a lot of changes to the team, I would say, and we got our first funding in May of 2025. Then summer of 2025, like it was the first iteration of the team. I worked with a group of college students throughout the summer to build some of our first prototypes. And then at the end of 2005, we went through the TechStars Accelerator, which is a startup program accelerator. We actually went to San Diego for that for 3 months. I came back and forth between LA and San Diego. And then, that's when like kind of the new 3-person team emerged. The college students had to go back to school. And then I found my current CTO and our lead GNC, guidance navigation controls engineer.
Right. Like when you started, how old were you? Was it like very exciting? How did you like feel to start a company?
Yeah. I would say I was excited to take a risk because I think when you're young, it's easier to take a risk. So I think I was 21 when I graduated school. So I just graduated from USC, and we had a program my senior year where we had to start a startup. So that's where the first idea came to fruition, and I got to work on it during school. And that got me excited about it. There was a lot of resources. I had mentorship through several programs at university. So it showed me a path forward for it, I would say. But when I graduated, I didn't really want to go work for someone else or work for a company anymore. I felt like I was ready. I had some experience from interning at an aerospace company during the school year. And I generally knew the process of what it takes to grow a company like that. Back at that Orbit Fab, which is the company I interned for, I was there all the way from 15 people in a small garage all the way to 50 people in a large Colorado facility. So I knew that later stage of the company, how it looked. And that gave me some more confidence because I at least could visualize what it would look like in a couple of years. But other than that, it was definitely very nerve-wracking. There's a lot of anxiety, especially around is this the right team that I'm working with? and also when applying to a lot of opportunities, there were so many opportunities I applied to, but like they didn't get in, right? So it's like, is my work being wasted? Like I keep applying to it over and over again, right? But I think like persistence is super important. So I'm glad that I kept going until now.
How people describe you, who you are today around you, like what they think about how your character or personality, or do you get this kind of idea from what people think about who you are?
Yeah, definitely. I think that like I have a lot of mentors that have written like letters of recommendation, so I get the sense like of what they write. I think people usually call me like creative, or like persistent, interdisciplinary, right? Like I combine a lot of interests in arts and technology and space.
How do you see the so you work at the technology, but you use a lot of creative and art. How do you find this relation together? Do you have like what's within you, this technology and art, science and art? How do you see? Do you find any difference, or do it's the same thing, or?
I think it's similar and different both ways. I think like the way I usually try to explain it is that art sets the realm of the possible for us. So like the craziest thing you could imagine is usually something in a sci-fi movie or like an illustration. And then the engineers are the ones that get inspired by that and actually build it. So like art sets the realm of the possible and engineers make it happen.
I see. So like, you are into art and technology, design as well, right? Have you thought about
Excuse us.
instead studying something like art, or doing with art, or like did you consider also this direction?
Oh yeah, definitely. I actually applied to a majority art programs when I graduated university because I thought I'd be a graphic designer. So I applied to, design schools, right? Or art-focused schools. And I applied to a couple, more general purpose schools that had a variety of different majors. I was prepared to be a graphic designer, but I always knew like there was something more. I wanted to make sure I was in a program that also like let me explore the non-art parts of things, because I think if you're studying just art, like art has to be inspired by something specific. So I don't believe you should just study art for art's sake, or like, the concepts of art. You should study the world. You should study like, the plants around you, or, philosophy or history, or a technology concept that you're inspired by, and then make art about that, or make some like, imagination about how that might progress and make that in your art, or maybe make some connection between two separate things and make that in your art to make people think about something in a new way. So art has to, I think like, for me, the art that I like most personally is art that like provokes me in some way. And so that's how I thought about choosing what I wanted to study. And at USC, they had a program that combined art, technology, and business. And I was in an environment where I could study other topics to inform my art, or to inform whatever, things I wanted to bring into the world. So I felt that was the most open program for me.
So you said your parents' environment, you grew up in a certain area that's really a lot of technology around. How did you came up with the idea of, okay, let's go this way.
Yeah.
Could you explain to people that they don't know exactly what you're doing with technology, to able to understand people who doesn't know, like what you're trying to do, and how did you came to these ideas?
Let's see. Well, currently, I'm working at the intersection of space, robotics, filming, media technology, and specifically, I was inspired by sneaking into an IMAX filmmaking class at USC. and the guest speaker in that class was astronaut Terry Virts. Now, IMAX is the company that creates giant screen movies. Like you go to the theater, the Science Center, you see an IMAX movie about like a documentary about animals or the planet, right? But IMAX is also very popular for making space films. So astronaut Terry Virts was the astronaut that personally filmed the Beautiful Planet documentary and like, held cameras in the International Space Station, framed all the shots, and was directed by people on Earth. But he ran into some challenges that were very interesting to me, like that you wouldn't think about as someone who hasn't gone to space. All right, like weightlessness is so unpredictable, everything's floating around, so even a small motion in your hand will translate to a jitter on the frame. And it's really difficult to get a smooth, like stable shot flying through the center of the space station. It's also very difficult to get the lighting right because it's the brightest bright Earth that you've ever seen and the darkest darks of space that you've seen. And furthermore, radiation, particles from space damage the sensor of the camera. So in that movie, a majority of their budget was actually spent on removing the bright white spots on the frame. So it was very interesting to me, like how people haven't really thought about how to optimize or make filming easier in space, because I think like one of the best outputs from space is the PR, the storytelling of what the astronauts are doing up there. And I think like if we make that easier, that will be a huge benefit because people on Earth will understand better what's happening there and understand the impact of the science. So what we're building is a free-flying robot that's able to move freely around the space station and capture very stable dynamic shots. Yep.
Wow. When you find this idea, when you starting consider to make one, were you like thinking, is this going to be so big challenge? Or what did you feel technologically, okay, this is something I can do? When the idea came,
Yeah.
how was inside your brain? Like, how did you feel emotionally?
I definitely felt, at the very beginning of the journey, I felt like I was biting too much off, like it would be really hard to do. Like I didn't really have the right people on my team to support that. And so I was nervous. And like even though I really loved the idea, I was very nervous about how it would turn out. I go that way. But like in the end, what made it a little simpler to me is like, hey, this is the same technology as drones here on Earth. It's, we're not yet building a satellite, right? We're building a camera tool that's pretty well understood. How do we protect the sensor from radiation? That's something I can talk to different professors about. That's something I can see if there's other people who are working on this. But the drone part, like I felt like it wouldn't be too hard to find team members who could help me on this. And also personally, like I think I was capable of learning all of the things that needed to be done in that. And in the process of building the company, I think I would learn that. And so what made me feel more at ease starting the company is that even though I didn't know everything I needed to know yet, I knew that in the process of starting the company, I could learn it. So I think like if I were to, that's really the core belief I held on to is you might as well, I always learned through the process of doing something, through the process of having a goal. So even if I don't know how to do it, I'm gonna figure it out and meet the right people I need to know to understand the problem better. And that was the guiding path for me, is like there's so many things I can do even before building the technology to better understand the problem that I can do. Yeah.
You sound very optimistic thinker. I have two questions. One first question. Are you optimistic about technology? How do you see technology today?
I'm optimistic. I would say like technology is ever evolving, and we as humans have the responsibility to steer it in the right direction that serves us instead of like enslaving us, you know what I mean? Right? So I think we have a choice in how we want it to work. And I don't think there's an objective way to like say if technology is bad or good, but like if we feel as a society that it's social media perhaps is making us more sitting at home more rather than maybe giving us new ideas, because there's always a good and bad side, right? So I think for technology like mine, it was really easy because there's really, I would say, nothing much negative to it. It's like, hey, how do we create more beautiful footage in space, right? It's a pretty simple idea. I think for like AI and other technologies where that is a bigger concern, like for me personally, I worry about AI stealing artists' work and like mashing it up and spitting it out as something random. That for me, I feel you can take in two ways. You can either compensate the artists whose work you're stealing and have them actually opt in and give them like maybe like a couple dollars every time it's used for something, right? I think that would be fair, right? Or you can have them be able to opt out, so that if you personally didn't want to be part of AI, you could just not be part of AI. I think that would be the most fair, like an ethical. I think now it's run away so fast that you no longer know if your art is part of their data set, right? And I think that's a little bit sad to me, that artists can no longer control where their art is going. Even if it's for like some greater good, right? Like I still think it started from a place of not trusting the artists and not trying to support them. So I think it's more negative.
So another question: how do you alive your optimistic personality? Like I said, for me, you sound very optimistic person. Was it from childhood your personality, or is it something like you gain by your experience to think certainly? How do you think? How do you think about?
That's a good question. I think it's definitely my mom, because like every time I see her, like she's always in awe of something. She reminds me a bit of you as well. Like she's always in awe of life, and she's like taking walks, and she's like looking at the details, and like she's very happy, and like nothing can stop her, you know? And I really appreciate that. Like it's interesting because there's such a like dichotomy. Sometimes she's very anxious and like she's more like a mother. She's like, oh, don't do that, right? But most of the time she's always teaching me to work harder, to learn, to see the beauty in life. And my favorite quality about her is that she's always really good at like gifts. She makes her own custom gifts every birthday, like compiling her photographs, or like making an origami beautiful, like something that opens up and is very delightful or surprising. So she's like, even though she like trained in math and trained in computer science, so you could see that like somewhere in her soul, she just really loves art and design and caring for people she loves. So I think that definitely transferred. Mm-hmm.
Did you have a very difficult time in your life? Like when you had a difficult time, like for example, you say your mom, so it's kind of like in a way from your family, but you know everybody experiences difficult time in your life.
Sure.
If you had a difficult time, could you share me the story and how did you deal with this situation?
Sure. I would say there's like a couple difficult times. Like a personal difficult time would be like my parents did go through a divorce, and I think like it was definitely just hard to see something so meaningful, you know, fall apart, right? But at the same time, like now that I'm on the other side of it, I do see like hope as well, because even when something falls apart, like a new door opens, or maybe it was not meant to be that way necessarily. And like while I regret, I guess, like the difficulty that they both had to experience in that, now I see that they're both happier in different ways. So like if you were to interview me then, I'd be like pretty sad. I'd be like, oh man, you know, it's sad to see this. But I did feel it didn't necessarily, like they were really careful. They wanted to make sure it didn't really impact me that much. So, you know, they were really nice to each other. It wasn't like a scary thing, or maybe at parts I would say it could definitely be scary. But overall, it's I would say it's not something that like impacts me personally now. But it was something that gives me perspective on like the how what's the word for it, like some things are short-lived, and that's for a reason, and some things last longer and you kind of don't know, and you kind of have to just go with it. I think another hard time is just like self-doubt in my abilities, and I discovered that in robotics, like because early on I mostly joined the team as a graphic designer, and I wanted to make the shirt design and help make the team, market the team, make them look more interesting with my art skills, because I was very confident in my art skills. But I wasn't very confident in my technology skills. But my mentors in robotics showed me that I could start there, but I could also explore actually learning the technology myself. So I was part of a team that worked on the gearbox of our robot. And my mentor would sit down next to me and he would go through the spreadsheets and he would explain, he would actually ask me questions because he cared about what my response was and how I would learn, right? So he would ask me what do you think about this, right? How would you solve this? And then he would guide me to the right answer. And so that really shaped my thinking on education of the most important part of it for how to actually remember something is to work through the process of understanding it yourself instead of being told the right answer. So that was really important. And I had never held an officer position in the club until my final year. So my final year of robotics, the years before the final year, I was still nervous. I was like, hey, I'm doing this great work, but I don't really want a named officer position. I don't want to be, the lead of the VP of engineering or the president of the team or the, marketing lead, media lead. I would always give it to someone else. And I was like, I don't want the pressure of that title. But then I realized I was doing the work anyway. And so it was important for me to step into that role and learn what it means to actually be a named officer. And actually I was the only kind of officer that was named to be a president of the team, even without having held a named position before then. So that was really special to me, is this understanding that I could lead something, even though I didn't necessarily wasn't necessarily the best person at any individual task.
So now it's private question.
Mm-hmm.
What's your day like? And what is your, outside of your work, what is your main happiness to do, for example? Eating or going to cinema, listening to music. What's your life like outside of work?
I definitely reserve time in my life for creative projects still. I have a lot of side projects I'm working on that I wish I had more time to finish. Things I'm writing a webcomic about people living on Venus, or I make mission patches for my different friends for space companies, or making birthday gifts for people, because I usually draw a portrait of them or something like that. So that helps get my mind off of work. I also, nowadays, I really value the community at the hackerspace in Los Angeles. So I go there every Tuesday, and I just love being able to talk to people, having people I see over and over again who aren't related to work, right? It's just great. I don't have to talk about work. I can talk about whatever I want, or I can show them some of the cool stuff I'm working on if I want to, and play games. That's been really great. I think lately watching movies, every other night or so, I'm watching some kind of new movie. My friend has a really large library of movies, so that's been very helpful. Mm-hmm.
So, how do you deal? Do you feel sometimes, not motivated to work or so on? If you have one, how do you motivate you again by yourself? For example, for me it's music. What would it be for you?
That's a good point. For me, it's not really one activity anymore. It's more reminding myself how cool what I'm working on is, I guess, or just how I wish it would be real, and how almost how sad it would be if I'd done all this work and it wasn't real. So some things that motivate me are maybe just sometimes I send out a community newsletter and I get responses from my mentors or from people who are following along. And that really motivates me because I see them saying oh, go Orbs, right? I love seeing your update. Or something like that. I think people really motivate me. Let's see. I think people really motivate me. And just also anytime I'm in a really cool place, I was at the Kodak Film Awards recently and I was oh man, I wouldn't be here if I wasn't doing this company. and like someone else could be here instead of me, right? I should really make the most of this opportunity. And that, like every time I'm reminded of that, that's also important, I think, because then I get like excited inside. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you know, someone trusted me to let me go here. I need to make sure that I come back with something great, like, you know, so that their belief in me was not for nothing. Yeah, so it's a really fine balance between feeling like you're pressured because there's a lot of people who are counting on you to do something, and also being motivated by their support and not letting like the pressure of that get you down. You mentioned Alyssa Liu like today, and I think like what really inspires me about her is that she decided that like nobody's actually pressuring her. Like she said that in her interview, like, oh, who's pressuring me? Like who? Tell me one person who's pressuring me, right? And like she's just reframing it as like, oh, it just doesn't exist, right? Like at the end of the day, I can choose whether or not I feel pressured by something or someone. So that was interesting to hear. Yeah.
What about what was the coolest? Tell me the coolest experience you had in your life.
Ooh. I mean, the coolest was definitely going on a zero-G plane. Like I got to feel weightlessness personally, which was super important because like that's what I'm building is for that environment, for that novel way of moving your body and like feeling like there's no gravity anymore. So that definitely like sparked the interest of like, oh man, like again, I was given this opportunity to feel this. Like how can I take that further? And then like it's interesting because the other coolest moment of my life was a failure, right? Like it was me being part of the team that was launching the highest and fastest student-built rocket to space. And I was there for the launch that didn't succeed. I was there for the launch where, you know, it did not go to space. And so I think that was still cool because like the energy in that room, the energy in that room was just so special. Everybody believed that this thing would work. And in the end, like a small piece of human error was a combination of a lot of things, right? Like leadership, how we make decisions, human error, and that was very, very, you know, both super crushing and sad, right, to experience firsthand, but also important. But I would say like you spoke about like when I feel down or when I feel like I struggle. Like when I was experiencing that event, like my thought in my head was often, oh, did I do enough on this rocket, right? Like, did I actually, yeah, sure. Did I participate in enough parts of it? And I didn't really, like, I was a member of a lot of parts of the rocketry team. I was a machinist. I made some of the parts. I was a graphic designer. I made a lot of their mission patches. I filmed their activities. I routed PCBs, which means like drawing the wires on the PCBs. I was part of welding a test stand that the rocket would go on. But like I was, you know, I didn't have time to be a much more major contributor. So I think like in that moment I was like, oh, like a part of me is going on this rocket because I worked on all the things leading up to it. But also part of me is like, oh man, I could have done more, right? So I think like always figuring out what to balance in different projects I'm a part of.
Okay, cool. I will ask last type of the question. It's about future and the world around, okay? And do you have any philosophy? How do you want to live and who do you want to be in your life?
I definitely think like the kind of person you are or how you treat others is more important than what you actually do. Like it's really hard to believe that because you always want to have some kind of like tangible thing you can, like, or legacy that you can show for. And so it's been a struggle because the kind of person I want to be is the kind of person that prioritizes being like kind to others or helping others or teaching others, because that's like a much more grand scope of work that you've participated in. But like the like ego part of me says like, oh man, like I want to be the one that like creates this cool thing, right? Like and I want to be part of this big team that I built and like that I created, right? So there's definitely a part that I can't dismiss as like, oh, like, you know, it's cool and interesting. I think, like the kind of person I want to be is to improve the situation in my industry, I guess, like just in general, like in the way I interact with people or the types of people I welcome to the room or to brainstorm, right? Like I'm proud that my company involves like dancers and artists and filmmakers in discussing the future of space and like how do we create never before possible like beautiful artistic performances in weightlessness, or how do we share greater scale the impact the astronauts are making, right? It's not just a robot that can film beautiful footage, it's also a robot that can actually help with tasks. Like when we add robot arms to it, it'll be able to move around remotely and like service some of the experiments, or like help the astronauts unpack items. So instead of focusing on like menial repetitive tasks, the astronauts can focus on the science. So I like to have like multiple different, I really like to be interdisciplinary. I think it's just a more integrated way of thinking. So that's another part of what kind of person I want to be, I guess.
So through your by being position of leader, what do you think, what is a leader mean to you today?
I mean, a leader definitely sets the vision for the company. They set the values and the culture. So I think in the way that they act or the way that they present the company inside and outside, it should be aligned with what kind of change they want to see in the world, right? So I mean, being a leader also is like empowering your team to do their best work. So something I struggle with is like, you know, usually I'm very hands-off, right? Like I have my own skills I'm really good at, like the business development and the fundraising and the design and art project. And I know enough technology to like offer some advice or some guidance on how we do things. But I also want to give them enough agency to feel like they're part of the company and they make their own decisions. So like to me, it's been like a learning process of being a leader is like definitely a mixture of like being very kind and being ruthless, because sometimes the decisions, like for me in the company, right, we've gone through different people as part of the team. And that was the most difficult part for me, because like the kind of person I want to be, like if I picture it as like, oh, it's a kind person, it's a person who like welcomes people. But that's not really possible at a company, because at a company, you also have to balance like you have a certain budget and you have certain timelines, and like if they're not able to do it, then at some point you have to let them go. So I like, a leader also has to put that aside sometimes for the I guess the greater good of the company and whatever they want the company needs to achieve. So I think like that's the most difficult part of being like a nonprofit founder, or maybe like a club in school versus a company, for sure.
If you see, for example, somebody around you, or people, okay, so let's do this question. Around your age, your friends, whatever, so you are still Generation Z. How do you see friends around you, their motivation towards life, or how do you see, are they very motivated in the US, or do you also see a lot of people kind of like, you know, like how do you see around?
Sure. I happen to be in a community with a lot of talented people. So I think I definitely just see the disproportionate amount of people like in California, in like a pretty affluent university. So like prefacing my context there, right? Like I think I'm more optimistic because I'm in those spaces, and like a lot of people are really ambitious around me, and they're motivated to be like to get money for their family, or to make a really cool project, or they think AI is like a big bubble, so they need to be a part of it. Like they don't want to miss out. And then there's also people, I think, in like the artistic community that are struggling right now. Like, of course, the film industry is really struggling because of AI. Animation is struggling, the arts in general. And And my friends who are mostly in those areas, I think, are having a harder time, even though they're very talented and passionate. Like, there's just not a lot of opportunity for them if they want to work at a company. So entrepreneurship is a way to like bypass that and like force something to happen, even without opportunities being given to you. So I think, like, for the friends who are able to do that, whether like maybe they have to have some maybe savings so they can do that for a couple of years before it takes off, or they, you know, that's something they were trained to do or understand how to do. But the ones that want to see like kind of like a normal life that their parents had, I think, are struggling to do so, and that's really sad because like not everybody should have to be an entrepreneur just to like get their dream job, right? Like there should be dream jobs at companies where you can have a good salary, where you can have mentorship and community and like do what you want to do, and like I think they're equally amazing. So I think the people I do see struggling, like, from my perspective, is not their fault in a lot of ways. And like Gen Z, I think people don't want to hire Gen Z also because like we're very, I would say, outspoken maybe. Like we don't like corporate culture very much generally. You know, we have different ways of speaking, and like we're very social media oriented. We know how to market ourselves in the internet age. A lot of people are becoming influencers or like entrepreneurs in their own way, like by marketing their own personality and what they think about. So like people have to be creative to get their dream life in this kind of environment.
So
Yeah.
if you see somebody struggle,
Yeah.
what would be the advice to find a way to get out? What would be your advice?
I mean, my advice, it really depends. Like, I'm an entrepreneur, so I have that experience of like, if you have a specific project you want to see happen, you might as well just start it yourself and like bootstrap and try to maybe work like a main job that you don't like if you have to get enough money to work on the side job and to get it to grow and grow and grow. And then like by investing in yourself, you'll compound your passion and your work into something greater. And you can do that regardless of if you haven't like a job, you know, a bigger company wanting to offer you a job or anything like that. You can do that yourself. So I think like people individually have the power to change their life themselves. And like people who are struggling, I think it's really hard to tell them that because it's like come on, Anna, like I'm struggling, like I can't do that. Like you're telling me things like from your position of privilege that you've already built something, and like I can't, you know, I don't see myself as being able to do that. Like, you know, and I think like for them, I honestly just give them time because you have to work through that yourself. Like you can't have anyone tell you how to live your life, and especially after you just graduated, like a lot of Gen Z, we're still exploring who we are ourselves and like who we want to be. So you don't necessarily know what you want to do in life, even at the same time as you're trying to build a good foundation. So like, I don't know, like for them, I say like explore, or just like take this time in your life when you have the least amount of responsibility to find different parts or different skills that you have or different ways that you can plug into community. Because somewhere there's going to be an opportunity. The more you like network and put yourself out there, like something's going to happen, right? So you might as well like just don't sit at home and do nothing. Yeah.
So what is money means to you, and what is success means to you?
Sure. Money, like I've always been, I think like when I think of the word, I initially think of just like anxiety of spending it in general, because like I'm the type of person that like doesn't really like shop for fun or like, you know, or eat interesting food for fun. Like I enjoy like having extra and like being able to be like, oh, like this is a cool technology or something that like might help me, like maybe an iPad or like a drawing tool, like I should get that because it'll help improve what I'm doing. So I think like it's like a tool to invest in yourself primarily for me. It's also a tool to like, it's definitely a tool that separates what kind of experiences I think someone can have, which is a little bit sad because like during college, I had a full tuition scholarship to go to the university. So I had a lot more, like any money that came in from like freelance work I was doing, like I just had it for myself. There was no loans I had to pay. So like that enabled me to like, you know, go see theme parks and see art shows and design things and like build a better library for myself with things that I knew. So like I would say it's not really a motivator in my life per se. Like I'm okay with like a middle class income or something. Like I'm not being a CEO to make billions because the percentage of that is so small. But I think like it is important to use to like enhance the experiences I have in life. Yeah.
So what about success means to you?
I think success is like, well, I can put it the other way. Like I think what's not success is like stepping on other people to get to like a high place. I think that's a bad thing to do. And I think a success to me would be somehow reaching a financially stable life, having all the tools I need to be creative, like, you know, any art or supplies I want, like that would be really cool. Being able to travel would make me feel successful, because then like if I wanted to explore a different culture or have an experience, like I would have the means to do that. I think like having good friends and having a community is really important. Being someone who people can count on, not being someone like people are like, oh, like Anna can't do that, like she's not reliable, right? Like I would feel really bad about that. So I think like being someone, I do care what other people think of me, and I want them to want to reach out to me and want to feel like I'm a good friend to them. Like family, I don't really think about yet because I'm pretty young, so I wouldn't say like that's the first thing that comes to mind necessarily. Like at this point in life, it doesn't seem like that would be either success or failure if I had or didn't have one. But like I think it would be cool, like later in life I would probably enjoy like teaching someone younger. So like in whatever way that would happen, like passing on my knowledge I think is important. Yeah.
If you see yourself as a student, what would you like to tell them? Young, about 10 years ago for yourself, what would you like to tell them about life?
Honestly, 10 year ago me in some ways was better than current me, because I would say like 10 year ago me, like she didn't care what other people thought. Like truly it was such an interesting period in my life where like I would not put makeup on. I wouldn't care how my hair looked. I wake up in the morning, I was like, I'm gonna brush, I'm gonna go outside, and I would like skip around. Like I remember my friends would tell me like, Anna, like why are you skipping? Like you're so random and weird. Like what are you doing? Like I would just like I was like very chaotic and like cool. I don't know, like I think I was happier then because I didn't really have responsibility, and like education was pretty fun to me, and like I had good friends, and like I don't think I would tell her much because then she'd be kind of disappointed because like, oh man, like adult life is like it has more responsibility and stuff, right? Like, you know, might as well let her live that like joyful period because that's what gives me the optimism now. So like I wouldn't tell her that much. I'd probably tell her like don't doubt yourself, or like if something's hard, it's because you're learning, it's not because you're incapable of doing it.
So, what is the most important value as a human being for you?
Curiosity, because curiosity leads to all the positive things, I think, because if you're curious, you want to understand other people, you want to understand your place in the environment, you want to understand how to live, you want to learn. So like open-mindedness to the fact that you're in a context that's very specific, and there may be other people's contexts that have completely different opinions than yours is super important. Yeah.
So, do you have any words for the people who might watch this video to last word?
Last
including,
words.
So one is something personal.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody like your childhood time, but they might watch, or somebody maybe 80 years old might watch. So something from personal,
Mhm.
something about your company, how if they like you, who you are, how they can contact you, or could you tell us?
Sure, yeah. Like, it'll be okay. Everything's gonna be fine. I promise. Whatever you're going through, like the cool thing about life is that it's always flowing and continuing. So anything you're feeling right now is not permanent. And think about that from both a good and bad standpoint, right? Like, it can always change, and you personally have the most power than anyone else to make that change in your life. So, like, do the first step, whatever you need to do. Like, pick up your pen, pick up your camera, you know, take out your math problem for homework, right? It's all leading somewhere, so nothing's really wasted if you just like want to learn and start doing stuff. So yeah, you got this.
Great.
Yeah.
How can people reach you to support your work? Is there any Gmail, or how can they? I can put
Sure.
on here later.
Yeah. Anyone can reach out to me when they want. Instagram, my email is, my company email is anna@orbs.space, but my personal email is graphicdesignanna@gmail.com. Yeah, anywhere is great. Like, I'd love to meet new people. If you like space, or if you're coming up in the industry in particular, love to meet you.
Great. All right. So now it's a time. It's 6:38. We finished the talking, walking, Hope
Yay!
Street project. Thank you very much. So, Anna, have a lovely day and see you soon.
Thank you.
Looking forward to your future.
Thank you.